Hello everybody, welcome to the video on 5 tough HR interview questions for experienced candidates. Now see, in addition to the regular questions, the HR interview for experienced professionals specially tries to assess both their personal qualities and understanding of life. So in today's video, let's see some really tough questions you may face. Interviewers' purpose behind asking them, the right way to think about them, and some sample answers. So, the first question that you may face could be, if you look back at your life, what are your regrets? Now, see, the way you answer this question tells three important things about you. Number one, are you somebody who's stuck in the past or do you live in the present? Number two, are you too complaining? And number three, do you take lessons and move on? Before we begin to answer this question, let me give you a tip. And this tip is not just to answer this question, but to make sure that you don't get stuck in this cycle of regrets. And the tip is, try not to dwell in the past. Take your lessons and move on. If I were to answer this question, I would say something like, well, I think I've made a lot of mistakes in life, but I don't have any regrets as such because I always try to take lessons from my mistakes and not repeat them. Regrets arise when you are stuck in the past and rather than focusing on the learning, you focus on what went wrong. But here you have to understand one thing. You will be able to deliver this answer confidently only and only if, over the time, you change the way you think about yours or someone else's mistakes. Otherwise, your words and body language won't support each other. And if you think you can't deliver this answer confidently, here's sample answer number 2 for you. And it is, well, I've learned a lot of things with time and experience. And now I prefer to take lessons from things and move on. The only regret I have now is how good it could have been if I had understood these things a little early in life. Okay, now let's move on to question number 2. Tell us something that you do not like in your current job. Now see, there could be another way of asking this question also. And it could be, why do you want to leave your current job? The most important things while answering this question are, number 1, never complain or badmouth your last employer. And number 2, just focus on the professional growth that this organization can provide. A good answer to this question can be something like, well, I've worked for my current employer on various projects and I've learned a lot with them. So there's nothing that I dislike about them as such. However, since last some months, I have a feeling that my learning and growth as a person has reached a plateau with them. And it is a time for me to move on. As per the job description notified by you for this position, I think I'll be able to put my existing skills to use for the benefit of the company, while getting an opportunity to grow as a person and professional on other fronts that I'm ready to take up. Okay, now moving on to our question number 3. Why were you laid off? And if it is since some time that you have been out of work, the question can be even more pinching. It could be, why have you been out of work since so long? Trust me, these are the 2 most important questions to prepare for if you do not have a job currently. If you go without preparation, you will most definitely land up saying something very, very damaging. The basic purpose of asking this question is to understand, number 1, what caused the job loss? Number 2, are you sufficiently responsible and ambitious as a person? And number 3, are you lazy by any chance? Now see, we also need to understand here that there can be various personal and professional reasons for a person to be out of work. And that is okay. There's no need to get anxious about it. So if you were laid off, here are some important tips to answer this question first. Number 1, if you were laid off, try to put things into context. Explain what happened. Number 2, don't give a self-damaging answer. And number 3, don't blame anyone. A sample answer to this question can be something like, well, due to the changing market dynamics, there was a lot of restructuring happening in the organization since a year. Unfortunately, as a result of this restructuring, my position also came under the X last month. However, as I said earlier, things become a little more serious if you have been out of work for some time now. Because now the interviewer will also try to assess if you are irresponsible, lack ambition, or efforts due to which you are still out of work. Your answer needs to put this doubt to rest first of all. Again, before we see the sample answer, there are two important tips to answer this question. If you are out of work since some time. Number one, if there's a genuine reason, explain. It can be personal or professional. Number two, tell the employer how have you put this time to use. A sample answer to this question can be something like, I have aged parents at home and my father has a medical condition which needed me to pay full-time attention to him. Due to this, I decided to leave my job at Mumbai and shift to Delhi. During this time, I had some free time at home, which I decided to put to use by doing some short courses to upskill myself. Now that my father is in a better health position and I have got him a full-time attendant also, I'm again looking out for a new job. This kind of an answer explains the situation and also tells how you used your time. That puts the query to rest now. Fantastic. Let's move on to question number 4 now. Tell us about some critical feedback you often receive at work. So, first of all, what is this question trying to ask you? This question is basically trying to ask you three things. Number one, what are your shortcomings? Number two, are you able to take criticism? And number three, do you repeat your mistakes? Otherwise, why would people point them out repeatedly? Now, before we begin to see the sample answer, here are some important tips to deal with this question. Number one, understand that everyone has got some or the other shortcomings. So, it is perfectly okay if you also have got some. Number two, if it is a repeated criticism, maybe from seniors, colleagues, family, or friends, you need to introspect and improve. And number three, take an example of a criticism from the past and tell how you work to improve on it. And here comes a sample answer to this question. Well, like any other human being, I possess some weaknesses too. And I too have been criticized for them by my seniors, colleagues, and family members. But one thing that I've come to understand is it is this honest criticism that helps us improve as a person and professional. I always try to not get the same criticism repeatedly. If I see that the criticism is genuine, I try to work on it and improve myself. For example, my boss used to be genuinely concerned about my communication skills and pointed out certain mistakes on some occasions. But it was his criticism that pushed me to work on them and improve. And finally, coming to the last question of this video. Have you ever had a conflict with your senior? Now see, with this single question, the interviewer gets to know following 5 things about you. Number 1, composure and calmness in difficult times. Number 2, your professionalism. Number 3, listening skills. Number 4, logical reasoning. And number 5, your solution orientation. So some tips to answer this question are, number 1, choose a work-related problem to answer this question, nothing personal. Number 2, show how you handled the situation. And number 3, keep the focus on the solution, not the problem. For example, you can say something like, we were in the process of selecting a new platform for our project. There were 3 choices and my boss was inclined to go ahead with one of them. However, based on my past experience, I knew that this platform looks good prima facie, but throws problems in the long run. So I was in favor of the other platform. This difference of opinion created a bit of conflict between both of us. I realized that both of us want the good for the company, just that our thoughts are different. Ultimately, I prepared a prototype in silence and showed my boss the inherent problems of that platform. He also did some research on his part and finally we chose this other platform. Listening to each other's viewpoint really helped us in coming to this conclusion. So you see how I've discussed the problem but kept my focus on the solution. At the same time, I've also not taken the whole credit for the resolution myself. Basically, you can answer even these tough questions also very effectively if you anticipate them, understand the purpose behind them and answer them accordingly. But all of this would happen only and only with preparation. To learn how to answer more questions usually asked at the interview, you can check out this video also. The link is provided in the description box below. And with this, I sincerely hope that whatever we have discussed in today's video is going to be useful to you in your preparation. If you have found today's video useful, do give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends also. And if you want to stay updated with the information about more such videos, do subscribe to the channel. I'll see you very soon. Till then, bye-bye and take care.